building blocks. With the rising population aged over 60, changing family dynamics, and urbanization, seniors are seeking options for independent living within communities that offer quality healthcare services, safety, social engagements, and comfortable living spaces. As a result, the demand for senior living in India has been steadily increasing, leading to the entry of various players into this space and the development of senior living communities across the nation. This session, our Roundtable 2, will focus on the role that different partners can play in developing the senior living ecosystem in all its varied formats. This will include role played by operators and infrastructure, industries, players to help promote awareness, allow seniors to leverage existing benefits, and encourage the development of new benefits for the future senior care ecosystem. With those words, please put your hands together as I invite on stage the moderator of our session, Roundtable 2, onto the stage, inviting on stage co-founder ASLI and Joint Managing Director Ashiana Housing, Mr. Ankur Gupta. Very warm welcome to you. May I also invite on stage our esteemed speakers, Chief Business Officer, Airport Land Development, GMR, Mr. Anand, Mr. Sumit Anand. Very warm welcome to you. May we also invite on stage Senior Managing Director, Head Alternatives India JLL, Mr. Karan Singh, Sodi. Good morning and very warm welcome to you. May we also invite on stage CEO, Ascendas-Firstspace, Mr. Aloke Bhuniya, onto the stage. Good morning and a very warm welcome to you. Before I request the moderator of the session to take over, may I say a few words about him? Mr. Ankur Gupta, the Joint Managing Director of Ashiana Housing Limited, is the driving force behind Ashiana's senior living category. He has spearheaded Ashiana's senior living initiatives, managing 2,500 senior living homes across 4 different locations. He's now planning to expand the portfolio with more than 3,500 units through new launches. He also brought the idea of aging in place to India, with now Ashiana managing 2 care homes and 2 more to be launched soon. With those words, may I request the moderator of the session to kindly take over.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for coming. I hope we make this a little interesting, and a little bit of conflict and controversy is always good. We need different opinions on the same thing, so I hope please speak your mind. And if you have a disagreement with the speaker, please speak out. I think it's a great thing for all of us to hear different viewpoints on a particular subject. I think that's a great thing. And it's the first time I'm doing a senior living panel where I don't know anyone from before. So it's a great thing that so many people are looking at this market in different ways, and it's exciting. And we've got Karan here from JLL. He's spent 20 years there, and he's the MD of the alternate asset class, and just took out a report on Wednesday on senior living. So thank you, Karan, for being here. Alok, the CEO of Ascendas, he's basically with Capital Land, started doing some logistics work in India. Is an entrepreneur, but has is on the board where Ascendas has invested in senior living in Philippines and Thailand, and now looking at an India opportunity. So we would love to hear what's going on. And we've got Sumit here, who's a friend, actually known from before, but we knew him from Anand Rathi days, and now he's been with Lehman's, McKinsey, and now with GMR Airports as the real estate head of GMR Airports, and looking at how to create integrated cities within the airport, and is senior living an important part there? And I think he's also looking at senior living in these areas. So welcome to the panel. So first, I'll just start with the simplest of the question first. What do you think of senior living as an asset class? And what do you think is the acceptance of that in the India market today? It's been about 25 years since senior living has been in India. What's your thought on that? So Sumit, why don't we start with you, and we'll just go around on that.
Sure. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for inviting me to the panel today, Ankur. Uh, I think that sometimes a lot of people have been surprised that why is an airport company attending this event at all. Uh, Firstly, I think me and my colleague at the back are perhaps the least knowledgeable about senior living. So with that caveat, I don't know how they have made a panelist out of me. But at GMR airports, I represent the real estate development business at each airport. GMR airport sees airports not just as places you come in to take a flight or to depart, but as aerocity communities that can develop around airports in India. And some of you who have used some of our airports may have seen the AeroCity Hotel District in Delhi, which is now expanding to mixed use, which will have retail, it will have offices. And there is a large suburban development that we have around our Hyderabad airport, which is about 1,500 acres of mixed use real estate development. And in Goa, we again have about 250 acres, and Vishakhapatnam, another 600 acres. So I think the point at GMR is to create ecosystems, urban ecosystems around these airports. And we think that as people are retired but active, they are consulting, they are still traveling. And retiring does not mean you retire from life. It sometimes just means that you're not having a formal vocation, but you're still engaged in different ways in this world today. We think airports are actually great ecosystems for such senior living communities, which can have hospitals next to it, it can have retail, shopping, and entertainment next to it. And obviously, the airport is next door for you to take a flight for a day and come back to that community. We think there is a strong space for that. I also must say that part of this vision is driven from the chairman himself, Mr. G.M. Rao. I think he's had this view that as Indian society changes, uh, senior living is going to become an important need of this country, and to give quality, world-class ecosystem facilities, the physical infrastructure that Neha talked about in the earlier panel. GMR, I think, has some background in urban infrastructure, and we would like to combine that to the solutions in senior living on the real estate side, perhaps not on the technology and other stuff.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Alok, your thoughts on the.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to this panel. Now, before I start, I must tell you, Sumit, I definitely can give you competition in terms of ignorance about the sector. I mean, I also really don't have any personal experience. And if I look at from capital and perspective also, we are not really that knowledgeable about the sector. um, Two things on this I'll just tell you. When we look at this sector globally, we look at this as a wellness sector. That's what we are defining this. And under wellness, there are various categories of things that we invest in. The theme of investment is wellness. So under that, your hospital, specific care, diagnostic centers, even people at their middle age, their requirements of wellness, even wellness with respect to how do you do it in offices, because you would have seen it now in normal offices. This wellness certification is a very very important part, and similarly in residential. Senior living is part of the whole theme of wellness when we look at it. That's one part. And second, as Capital and Ascendas-Firstspace, the way we look at it is, uh, unlike a typical private equity, we are a little different breed of investors. We believe in a long-term theme, a long-term macro of a particular sector or a country, uh, and then we get in and we try to figure it out. So today, if I look at India, I mean, all of us know all statistics to say why India is interesting. In that, we are already present in office, in data center, in warehousing, and hotels and other classes, asset classes. And we figure that senior living, which is we are defining as a wellness sector, which includes hospitals and other parts, we find that fundamentally there is a huge amount of demand which the sector is going to witness. We don't know how, as we had heard from the previous panel. I mean, as we have seen with our experience of developing different industries, different sectors across the globe, when we get in, we believe in the fundamentals. We know that there is a long way to go, but at the same time, we know when we are entering, we don't know all the answers. Probably we know only the 5% of the answers. We get in, and we are not a short-term player. We are going to be here for, if we are investing, it's going to be for next 15, 20, 50 years. So we know we will get in, we'll figure it out on the way. We were ready to pivot at all points of time, and that's the interest with which we are looking at the sector.
So the macros have in India have been there for years. What is exciting you now to get into senior sector? Is there some change you're seeing in the market?
So I think all of us know India is a country of this dichotomy. I mean, uh, last 25 years of my life as investor, I don't think there has been a single year, I mean, starting from early 98, where India always had the potential. India could become this, India could become that. But it always, something or other always pulled us down. And therefore, we could only grow at a certain rate. Therefore, there are certain opportunities which could look fantastic on pen and paper, but never really got converted to the fullest of potential. It only grew at a certain rate. I'll give you some of my personal experiences, specifically from the real estate sector side. When real estate opened in, I would say, 2005 onwards, between 2006 and 7, it seemed that India will be building like hundreds of million square feet per year, more than they have done probably in last 100 years. Everybody believed in that, and I don't think it happened because there were always problems which faced. Similar situations we faced in the logistics warehousing sector. 2006-7 macro looked good, GST will come. It did not happen. But does it mean that it never happens? It's only that in India, if we think that things can happen in 5 years, probably it takes 10 years, but it happens. So, therefore, from a macro perspective, although everything looks good, there are only a certain inflection point at which you believe that, yeah, right now it has a potential and a scale. Actually, another important factor is a scale. I mean, any business will make sense for us. Let's say today, if you ask me to invest $10 million into a particular sector, where I can do an increment of maybe 50 million in next 2 years, not interesting. Does it mean it is not an opportunity? It is. But for investor like us, unless we are looking at something where I can invest couple of $100 million in the next couple of years, it may not be interesting for us as an investor.
So do you see couple of $100 million getting into senior living in India from you guys in the next couple of years?
As I said, how we invest is believing in the long term potential. And today, if we start investing, and tomorrow, if we find that there are interesting opportunities for us to invest, committing couple of $100 million is not a problem. Now, do I believe that there are opportunities to be investing couple of $100 million? I think looking at the macro, it is, but on ground, actual investment opportunities, as I said, we have just started looking at it. So I can't say with confidence that today, if I want to invest couple of $100 million, will I find those investable investment? I'm not confident about that.
Thanks, Aloke. Thanks for being candid and sharing. And I'm glad there is money available in senior living if you want, and if you need to figure out how to get that on ground. Karan, can you talk about what's your thought on the senior living market in India? And
Firstly, thanks, Ankur and others for having me here. So, like, again, it's personal view. You said 15 years senior living is in India, it's there. But somewhere there's some taboo association associated with it. I think old age, medical, it has some negative notion. I think it's great that you created this association to promote. I think it's high time we make it vocal and loud and clear that we are not selling health related assisted living. It's more elated experiences, more community living, more involvement rather than I mean, just to give you a model, like, I mean, WeWork came in with the bang. I mean, it's a bad thing now, WeWork to quote today, but the whole concept was community, getting people together. I think that's what we need to, as a sector, talk about more rather than having the assisted living aspect. So I think that will give buoyancy to the next phase of growth, is what my belief is.
And I agree, because most people on the old age homes think about aging as a medical problem and not a fun. You can really live a great life. And I hate this word "bechara" for seniors. We'll use that very often, and I don't think that's a great word for them to use. Karan, you just took out a report. What's your estimation on the size of the Indian senior living market today, and where do you see in the next 5 to 7 years it heading?
So yes, I think we also heard in the initial opening presentation, we are about roughly 110 million seniors today in a population of 1.4 billion. Fast forward to 2050, the overall India population is expected to grow by 20%. But what's interesting is seniors will actually triple. It will be 300% growth, so 330 million. We've been tom-tomming about Indian economy being a consumer-driven country. We attracted all the FDIs, but I think someone needs to realize we are also going to age, and come 2050, one in every fifth Indian is going to be in senior. So the problem is coming. There's awareness required, and opportunity is humongous. And as JLL, we already taken step to make it a specialized, focused business offering, and we believe in this very strongly.
So do you see, like, in a single year, any numbers on launches you see coming up? Or in the last, you took out a report, I think, or you talked about in 2018, and now we're sitting on 2023. It's been 5 years. What's the general feedback on senior living, and what's the interest which you're seeing?
I think more community living post-COVID, gated communities, townships are coming in forefront. Developers do realize that they cannot only bank on typical housing sales. They need to create innovative concepts within the townships, especially if it's more than 100 acres. So players like yourself will come in and create that uniqueness of senior living within a gated community, which gives larger access. So those aspects in the last 2 years, we've seen at least 30% growth year on year, compounded.
Oh, wow. That's a great number to be in. Fantastic. Sumit, question. I understand you've been looking at some, for your senior living in Hyderabad, you're looking for some international expertise. What's the reason for looking at international expertise, and what is that you're looking for from players outside?
Yeah, sure. Uh, if you just allow me, I'd like to say one thing that we have seen through some research to the question that you had asked him, and then I can answer your question.
Please do.
One thing that we have seen, I think, all of us in this hall, is the impact of the internet on how it changes social thinking. All of us are aware of that, whether it is rights for gay people, whether it is acceptance of such ideas faster, role of women, role of elder people, no shame in the fact that if my father lives separately from me, doesn't mean that I don't love him and he doesn't love me. And the change that has come in the generation, my mother is 78 now. Uh, she does more WhatsApp than she should. But part of that is also that they are seeing some of these things that, oh, Americans also love their children. I grew up in a small town in Haryana where everybody used to say only Indians love their children. All these Europeans, they don't care a damn because they tell their children to leave at the age of 18. So now, if you ask people, I think they all accept that human beings are the same. They all love each other. They love their children, and it's okay. Now nobody has a maid, and now we understand that my children perhaps will not be having me in their house, and it's okay. So I think one of the things is technology. That having your phone has brought the world's views to you much faster, much quicker. And we picked this up in a research that we did about how do children and parents feel about senior living. 3-4 years ago we did a formal study, and one of the, I think, changing aspects was that. So I think
Fantastic.
that creates the moment. You were talking to him about why now. So I think we had older people in the 80s, 90s. Of course, FDI was not there, but the need was there. But I think it's the social acceptance which is the catalyst, I think.
And I think it's going to be even more. I know lots of people who are talking to, we're saying that I don't want my kids to be ever burdened by me, right? And then if I've educated them, I want them to have a wing and fly. And that's more and more of the conversation in rooms which I'm hearing. So that's a great sign to see. And I'm glad with 2050, the kind of numbers, it is looking interesting.
Yeah.
Now, just going back to the other
Going
question
back
on the
to the
international
yeah.
side.
So coming to the question of us in touch with international operators, developers, yes. And I think there is a little bit of history around how GMR has tended to grow in new sectors. We started with ownership of a bank, which is not a well-known fact. GMR Group used to be the largest shareholder of Vaishya Bank. That became ING Vaishya, then it got acquired by Kotak. Uh, then we moved into power, which was a new sector for GMR Group. Then we got into roads. And then at a time when nobody was looking at airports as an interesting sector, Mr. Rao entered the airport sector. Now, every time he has done that, he's always thought, and I think it has worked out for the group, that creating some great international partnerships accelerates the learning process for us. It helps us in the early years where we may lack knowledge. Like today, GMR Group has very little knowledge about the senior living sector because we are largely an airport company. We have real estate development, yes. But I think senior living, anyways, is not about the brick and mortar. It's about the heart and the soul. It's about the service that you will give to the community. I mean, your project in Bhiwadi was a real estate project, but it's the community that you created which has made it stand apart, amongst other good things.
Correct.
So I think we think that there is benefit in coming into partnerships with people who've done it, who've perfected it, who've created processes, who've got an ability to provide us with a sense of detail that we may not be perhaps have on our own. And over time, we will nurture it and internalize it. And that I think is the basic DNA why we have been in touch with a few partners to see how we can make something work out.
And the reason I ask you this question, the funniest thing about 10 years ago, if we were having this, we would have more international players sitting in this room and not enough national. And today we don't have an international player sitting in the room and we're all national players. So the reason I just want to say is that I think there is scope in the market for all kinds of players coming in. And I'm glad like GMR is always looking and innovating. That's great.
And I just want to caveat, I don't want your question to be and my answer to be misunderstood that we are not talking to domestic players as well. I think largely I would say that GMR being a real estate, urban infra, airport company, we are talking to partners. Some of them are domestic also, and we welcome that conversation equally. But yes, as the market has told you, we are also talking to international people.
Perfect. And Alok, can you just share a little bit of your experience in the Philippines and in Thailand? Do you have any idea what's happening there from a wellness, senior living perspective? And do you see some learnings coming into this thing? And I know whatever I hear is that you're not fans of the Excel sheet, and thank God for that. So the real term experience can give value to a lot of the Indian guys who are doing right now Excel work and help if the Philippines and Thailand experience in any way.
Sure. Uh, it's Thailand. So we just created a platform. Again, as I said, it's not purely senior living. It's on the wellness theme. The idea is to invest about $1 billion of equity, close to creating about $3 billion of assets. The three countries we are targeting are Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. And again, the reason for that, and it's just very recent, so we really don't have a lot of experiences to share. I would say that it's still that honeymoon period, so everything seems rosy and all of those things. Probably another year down the road, we will have much better understanding of the space. But the theme is exactly the similar. Uh, Aging population, disposable income, more focus towards technology, more focus towards wellness, health among people, general perception, general awareness of health is what made us look at this sector very, very seriously and made that commitment. And as I said, for India also, it is exactly the same reason why we are looking at it. And as we have done and as we have seen it with our experience of developing different products in India, whether it be the IT or data center or any other things, we understand one thing, that this is a sector which is uh, what we see today and what will this sector become in 20 years, 30 years time is going to be completely different, because what we are talking about is probably a generation who believed in asset owning. A home has memories, so therefore for us to make them leave their home and come somewhere else even if they want is going to be difficult, compared to a generation of ours who probably another 10 years down the road will require this. We'll have less attachment of such kinds compared to the millennials who will have no attachment at all, and therefore those things, although the numbers will look interesting, but that fundamental shift in mentality will have a significant impact on the industry. And second, I think another thing, I mean, today we are homogenizing everything starting from 60 to 90. Somebody looking at having a comorbidity or health conditions to somebody who doesn't have any health condition, and we are putting everybody together and trying to come out with a community, because we definitely lack that kind of a number if we try to create sub communities. Maybe 10, 15 years down the line we will have such a demand that this entire thing is going to change substantially. We as an investor are aware that these are the nuances in the market, and the only way for us to figure it out is get in, invest, learn and pivot. And because as long as the macro is there, we know that we don't know everything. I mean, that is the most certainty that we have, is we don't know everything. We are going to get in and we are going to figure out.
And I'm glad, and learning is a continuous thing. I just want to challenge some of those thoughts a bit. So, you talked about this, and I want to talk about, you guys are looking at rental senior living. Am I correct in my thinking? And why rental? I'm a senior living provider, but I sell all my units. What makes you think that the rental side of the senior living will work?
Uh, I would say it's our DNA as an investor. As an investor, I mean, as a developer per se, you would also appreciate that development is a very, very tough game. I mean, you buy land, you get approvals, you construct, you fight with everybody, you finally get somebody. You would want to hold on to that asset because you believe that asset is what you are creating has to give you a long term value. And that is the reason globally, as an investor, again, I'm not saying there is a right or wrong model, but that's our DNA, is what we believe or what we want to develop is more kind of a rental yield models of real estate development. And similarly, for senior living, we believe that there will be a potential for that, because to us senior living is not just pure real estate. To us it's a similarity of what we do globally in long term service apartments. So it's essentially a real estate with a services attached to it, and therefore it's not pure real estate. And we believe our experiences of managing globally the various long term service apartments will help us to create that differentiator, which we will be able to do.
Okay. Just a follow-up question, two questions on this. So I understand why you want to do it. With the rental real estate being so low, why do you see you'll be able to make returns? And what is your Excel sheet telling you right now? What kind of returns can you make in senior living residential?
So, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, if you look at it globally, there's a multi-family residential yield model which works. So, globally, most of the countries you find that the yields for residential, commercial, retail, they will be within a certain band with certain differences in cap rates between each other. It's only in India that you will find that residential cap rates will be, or residential yields will be at least 400, 500 basis points lower than commercial, and that is the reason why this asset class never developed in India. But if you look at it over the last 3 years, the gap between commercial yield and the residential yield has narrowed substantially. It's because of two reasons: commercial yield has fallen, residential yield has gone up post COVID because of more rental demand. And I think fundamentally we will see a shift in residential demand with the new generation who doesn't want to own homes because of sentimental values or because of other things, and therefore those normalization in the market will lead to an increase in residential yield, which will push up all kinds of residential yield. And second, when we are looking at senior living or assisted living, or the entire sector, it is not a pure real estate play. It is a real estate along with services, and that's what is going to give you that additional numbers which will make sense. A classic example will be, you look at Airbnb today. I mean, Airbnb also will give you a 2-3 day stay vis-a-vis a hotel. But is hotels going empty? No, absolutely. Hotels are still full because there is a service component which you expect, which you can only get from a hotel. Does Airbnb also have a customer? Yes, they have a customer, but hotels also continue to a customer. So that is the reason we believe that the service component will give us that delta yield. The yield in general on the residential sector per se will go up. That the difference between these two will come down. Whether this is going to happen in a matter of 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, we don't know. And that is the reason we don't think that when we are entering into this space, we are going to be absolutely looking at that either rental yield or nothing. As we said, we always go by the market. So if initially it's going to be lesser of rental yield, more of sale model, that's what we are going to follow. But we have a strong belief that on a long term, there is going to be a play for this in the Indian market.
And what kind of return would excite you? What's your Excel sheet saying on that?
Our return expectations for this asset class is not going to be anything different compared to any other asset class. And again, as I said, I mean, truly speaking, I really don't believe in Excel. What we believe is what you make the Excel to be. I mean, you change one number here, one number there. So it's not based on which we make a decision. It's something which corroborates your decision. That's it. So right now we are not at the Excel stage to be saying that, okay, this is what I'm making or this is not what I'm making.
Great. Sumit, do you want to add or give your thoughts on the same idea on rental senior living?
Yeah, I'll give a brief answer. One is that I agree with Aloke. Excel sheets, Ankur, they always look good. Second, you can, I would not say impossible, but always very hard to get this number out of an investor,
I know.
especially
I tried it twice.
especially on a stage. So I like your daring attitude as a moderator. Uh, I mean, I remember before the first REIT of Blackstone got listed, I was trying to needle Neil and Ravi Raheja on such a panel, saying, "What do you think will be the day of listing yield that we will get?" And I tried and I failed. But I think there is going to be a co-mingling of private equity capital. I think two kind of capital will end up giving us solutions. I think one is which will be the service layer equity capital or venture capital, where technology, apps, service models of non-real estate, non-building, non-FSI, non-land value, and then there will be others like I think Neha was part of that, and perhaps fundamentally we are part of that. Maybe them who are more giving the assets, giving the projects in which these services will be given to the residents who live there. And I think both of these capital streams have different risk reward expectations. And I think that if you do active real estate management through a PropCo, OpCo model and all of that, I think plus 10 kind of a yield is possible on a built asset.
Oh wow, plus 10 sounds good. I can't even imagine it right now, but it'll be great to see how you guys do, and I'm very excited about what's happening. Karan, any thoughts on this? And I have a follow-up, a larger question. Do you see any bottleneck for the growth of senior living? And what do you see the largest challenge in the next 5 to 10 years we as an association should be looking at?
Just before I come to that, on that point, so 85% of the total stock today is on sale in your space. 10% is pure deposit-led rental, and 5% is pure rental model in the senior living sector today. But there is a need for rental. I think that will also mature because multifamily is picking up, and we've seen typically trends in US have a 6 to 8 quarter lag into India. Most of the US key cities buildings are getting repurposed to multifamily from old offices because people are returning to work. There could be a play around that, and there's also HNI game which can be played out into giving an investment yield product because people like to own real estate. And I'm sure everybody's aware India is the top country in terms of inward remittances in dollar value. Last year itself was $111 billion, and 15% of that is pure real estate, primary sales, secondary sales. So the market is huge and it's growing, and that number grew 20%, 22 versus 23.
Wow.
So big space to tap. So sale model will continue, but yes, there is a need for a rental model. And bottlenecks, I think we need a policy from the government too. After a lot of push from the real estate development bodies like Naretco and Credai, government is talking of rental housing policy. But I think it's time this association also tries thinking how can we create some incentives, some benefits for the end user in the senior living space. But it's a fact which you cannot hide away from. We are growing old, and there is a need for a policy to also give impetus to the sector.
Great, thank you. Policy from the government, what can we do? I just open it for questions now. I think there's about 6 months. We've got Shri there with a question. Can we get the mic there, please? The gentleman in the red, black and with the pocket. One
Hi.
more mic there, please, if that could be arranged. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Go ahead, Shri.
Ankur. In fact, actually, I was waiting from the 10th minute saying, would we open up for questions? I had actually a question for each of the panelists. First is, I think I would address this to Sumit, is that, there is, when we were doing a survey on what is restricting the movement of people into retirement communities, okay, we needed a strong convergence of logistics and warehousing, because I think as Priya Mohan had, mentioned earlier, we like to hold on to things. So people said, if we have a facility where we can warehouse our things, then I will move into a smaller place, which is more manageable. And I think today GMR is the most eligible in that category to set up warehousing for products or whatever it is. Okay, my second question. I'm sorry, I'm going to have 3 questions. The second question is movement to rental module. I'm addressing this to Karan. Karan, in your the report earlier that I had noticed was that you had brought in this thing of investment versus. So the investor can be different from the beneficiary. So what are you doing to target? What is JLL's views on that? And third one to Aloke. Aloke, I loved your video where you said that Excel doesn't make much of sense than this thing. But when I read the report on Thailand, on Singapore, because they were not on the same plane, one of the key factors that was emerging was that Thailand is becoming a back home, or it is becoming a destination for seniors from Western world to move in because of the cost of living and the service. So we do see that happening in India also. We are looking at our senior population, but do you think that we should look at medical tourism and look at population coming into India, considering that the recent survey of amongst people of Indian origin very clearly state that people want to come back to India?
Allow me to just query you back. I did not understand the question to me very well.
The question was, people are clinging on, they are not moving into senior communities primarily because they are clinging on to their furniture, books, my father's clock, my grandfather's stuff. So is there warehousing? Is there a convergence of warehousing as a catalyst to meeting the needs of people to help them make this shift?
I got it now. So I think if I would use the word, it would be the storage space asset class, which is very popular in many other parts of the world, the first world countries. Uh, so we haven't solved it in the sense that we are not thinking that we will be able to create long-term storage facility assets, very common in many other parts of the world. The US, I think, again leads in that in terms of density of such assets, I suppose. But I think I want to touch on another angle of this answer, which is that we have seen that a lot of people, uh, when we researched, when we surveyed, and this was before COVID, have a willingness to relocate within the city also and outside from the outside the city also. As a matter of fact, we conducted an NRI survey in the US with people who are above 55 and also children who have parents who are in India but they are working in America, and that's a large community. And I think it's about creating uh, the sense of safety and quality. So if you told people that we will take care of your aging parents in a GMR or developed community, which will have a hospital, it'll have high quality safety and care, there is great amount of willingness for them to do something with their furniture and the books. I don't know that answer specifically, but the willingness to relocate to such a facility is high.
We have about 2 minutes and one more question I would like to take. So 30 seconds each on your answers,
I'll
if
just
that's possible.
add maybe 15 seconds to the question which was asked to Shumit, which is a self storage. It's a standard self storage which is popular in any of the developed markets. Actually, incidentally, we just invested over $750 million in a self storage platform we just created again in Southeast Asia, which includes Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. And we are doing the same thing similar in India. I think, and there already exist self storage player in India, three, four of them. So I don't think it's a bottleneck in terms of availability. It's mostly a bottleneck in terms of probably awareness, where there are people who can store their products. The question which you answered, if I can answer the question which you asked of me, including the medical tourism. So as I said, our platform which we had invested across these three countries is all wellness theme, which includes hospital, assisted living, senior living, among other things. And therefore, the medical tourism makes a lot of sense. And if you look at it, actually, in terms of medical tourism, India today is a bigger destination and cheaper destination compared to Thailand. So definitely on a wellness theme, not purely from a senior living perspective, it's definitely a huge opportunity in India.
Thank you. Karan, on the
I'll just give it 10 seconds. I would take a stab at about 5.5%, 6% rental investment yield, but there's creativity required. We experiment in a couple of asset classes and happy to have a chat separately.
Oh, perfect. Can we just take one more question there, and then we'll. There are lots more questions, but I will. I think we were going to run out of time. So last question, and then please take it offline with us.
Just two comments. One is that we have to plan not for India, we have to plan for the world. And second thing, in my experience, कि जो builder है वो उसको medical का crack नहीं कर पा रहा है, the nursing care part, the assisted living part, और जो doctor है उसके पास पैसे नहीं है to build that asset. So once the two things mix, then I think the sector will explode. There is a lot of potential for growth. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Great. I thank you so much. Thank you for the time and thank you for your candidness. I hope you guys took out some meaning out of this. For me, I just wanted to thank the sponsors. I think as ASLI, one of the biggest things we get is help from people who supply to us, and I'm very glad Sumani, Jaguar, and CP Plus sponsored it. They have stalls here. I would really recommend. They're great products, all three of them. Something I use all three of them, and I would really recommend all of you guys to visit them and figure out what you can do for your own products. Thank you so much. Really appreciate.
Thank you so much, moderator of the session. Thank you so much, esteemed speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say that has been a very wonderful and very interactive session. Some of the questions which we could not take, we'll take it offline. May I request the moderator of the session to kindly present a memento to our speakers? We'd like to present a memento to Mr. Sumit Anand. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. May we put our hands together and thank and bring in some more energy here. Presenting a memento to Mr. Sumit Anand. Thank you, Mr. Anand. May we now present a memento to Mr. Karan Singh Sodi. Thank you so much. We also thank Mr. Aloke Bhuniya. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, moderator of the session, for wonderfully conducting and concluding the session.